I've just finished analyzing data from 1 million cold DMs to understand exactly what it takes to book in calls and get responses from an outbound message. And I found out what the top businesses are doing to achieve reply rates above 20%, book in meetings on demand, and ultimately grow their business. And in this video, I'm going to show you real examples of cold DMs that are working, which you can take away. And I'm going to tell you why they're working so that you can implement them in your own scripts today. So this is actually my favorite DM script. It's helped a career coach in the last quarter book 25 calls in around 45, 50 days. It helped an agency consultant consistently book in 3 to 5 very qualified calls every single month. We have in-mail reply rates of around 11.4%. Here's some proof. And so now I'm going to show you the exact script. All it does on a very high level, it says, hey name, it explains why you're reaching out, it gives some social proof, and it gives the offer. And I'm going to show you what this looks like in real life because it's actually very, very long and it's very, very complicated compared to what you normally see on DM scripts. And I've given you an example of an ice cream shop. Hey John, I saw your ice cream shop while scrolling LinkedIn. And again, you can replace ice cream shop with anything. And I say, funny enough, I scaled one myself to 2 million a year in 2 years whilst not doing any of the work, or by building a smooth ice cream delivery system. Now, what you obviously put in here is the real social proof behind why you're reaching out. And so you need to make sure that you have an amazing one-liner. This is why this script works so well. I can go, now I act as a chief ice cream manager for shops like yourself and solve the same problems I used to have. And you can list out all the main problems or pain points you're seeing come up in sales calls. Now, again, you might say, now I act as an agency, now I act as a consultant. You can say whatever you want to say as long as you explain what you do. And then you go, hey, here's my crazy offer. Let us run a free, and then you put in whatever you can give away for free. So let us run a free ice cream inspection and show you how to serve colder, smoother, and better tasting ice cream at a higher price. I've done this for 20 plus ice cream shops. Each one gained at least 5 hours per week. What I'm trying to show to you here is you need to very clearly state the problems that you're solving and the outcomes that you're solving them for. So for example, the problems being XYZ, the outcomes being, colder, smoother, better tasting ice cream, or whatever, again, is the benefits of your solution. Now, most people say don't do really long, wordy outbound DMs. And to some regard, I do agree. But when you have a bunch of social proof and a bunch of historical stories that you can leverage to prove to the prospect that you're actually good at what you do, you should say it really loudly and with your chest and very confidently. The next script I want to show to you is by Sami Barbier, and he is showing a personalized landing page script. Now, the reason why I'm showing this to you is because it's a great example of dog fooding. Dog fooding is when you use your own product to help get more customers for your product. And so, for example, Sami is doing outreach for GenPage using GenPage. And so he's on a campaign showing that when you use a personalized landing page in the script of the message you're sending out, you tend to get a higher response rate and a higher booking rate. And in this case, Sami seems to have doubled the number of meetings he's booked and achieved around a 4 times higher ratio bookings. And I'm going to show you the exact script he used. The message basically said, hey, Ilya, I saw you're building Burrito Creative. Respect. I build stuff for outreach too. We work with lead gen agencies that hit nutty reply rates by using pages like this. And he gives an example of the exact page. And it's, again, relevant and it's personalized to Burrito. So Burrito-Creative 3. Thought I'd make you one in a couple clicks. Might be fun to test. So that's like free value. He's basically showing this is my product. Does this sound interesting? Because it's working for me, it probably can work for you. He then showed an A/B test against Steve Curry saying, hey, I saw you're building a lead gen agency. Respect. I build stuff for outreach too. He explains to use personalized pages, but he doesn't show the personalized page. And here's what's really interesting. Even though without GenPage, he gets more replies, with GenPage, he gets more bookings. And that's because you're bringing forward the value and the actual proposition that you want to show to your prospect so that when that reply comes in, it's just more qualified. And it's a really, really good reminder that you don't always want to optimize for the leading indicator. So for example, in this scenario with GenPage, he got 22 positive replies. Without it, he got 47. So arguably doing it without the link gets more positive replies. So maybe we should optimize for that. But when you look at what booked more meetings with GenPage booked more meetings, and that's because we're essentially qualifying that reply so much better because that outbound message is longer, it's more detailed, it's actually showing the product. And it's a good reminder for all of us watching this video that if we can front load the value and actually show what we're trying to sell, we will book in more qualified meetings. And that's a very big lesson that I have from all the DMs I've ever sent. Now, the next one uses job signals and multi-threading, and it's by Adarsh. And what I love about this is it's actually the main reason why a lot of clay agencies and a lot of outbound agencies get a really higher response rate. And it's all about the data. So if you look at this, he had 311 leads and he booked 26 meetings. That's like just under a 10% meeting book rate. That is really, really high. And what I found with all my experience of sending cold DMs, that those numbers tend to only exist list when you have a really, really clean, high intent lead list. And especially true, this tends to happen when you're using this specific workflow. Basically, you scrape job postings. And when you have a job posting, for example, say someone's hiring a GTM engineer, you know that they have a very clear pain point because they're literally hiring for that role. They basically said, I'm going to put down 50 to 150 to 200K on a person to solve this problem for me. So it's very clear they have a problem pain point. The best agencies and the best outbound tactics I've typically seen is when they take in these job postings, they do some work in Clay, or in this case, BitScale. They check if it's qualified, and then they send outbound messages. And so, for example, this is the outbound message he sent. He said, hey, Will, saw that you're hiring for a GTM engineer and thought I should reach out. BitScale helps you pick up the right signals and automate outreach, just like we did for this campaign. Would love to share more. Why this works, again, so damn well, is he's talking to the exact right person with the exact potentially right solution. Now, you might notice here that I got 3 send outbound messages, and that's not because we're sending 3 messages in a row, but because Adash is using multi-threading. And this is a really somewhat advanced technique that I find on LinkedIn, but everyone should be doing it. The basic premise is that you shouldn't be reaching out to only one person on your organization. You should be reaching out to multiple people in the organization at various seniority levels so that you can attack the problem from multiple angles. So this is BitScale, and he's shown that he's gone for C-level profiles, decision makers, DM profiles, possible champions. Now, what he's going to do is he's going to send personalized messaging out to each of those different types of job categories or job titles relevant to the jobs that they do in their business and relevant to the responsibilities and the KPIs that they manage. And as a result, again, he's able to get 26 meetings from 311 leads, which again is really, really crazy when you think about it on the high level. And so the big takeaway here is try to look for the best intent data possible. And typically job signals is one of them. And secondly, always try to leverage multi-threading. Be aware that there are multiple decision makers in an organization. When I was the head of growth at an agency, a lot of decisions for buying services and products used to come through me, even though my CEO was getting all the outreach. Now, by the way, if you're thinking, how do I organize all these messages to go out to different ICPs or even just to general prospects, then you need to think about using a LinkedIn outreach automation tool. Basically, it can plug into Sales Navigator or Clay if you're using it with simple webhooks, and then you can send the lead directly to the automation tool and have it send outreach messages for you. And this tool that I love to use is called HeyReach because it has loads of awesome features. Specifically, it keeps you safe with proxies on the platform, and it has a bunch of really cool integrations. Now, this next template example is one I actually used myself to meet 6 other heads of growth in a city that I was completely fresh to. So this is the picture where I actually went to Sydney and I organized a dinner with 6 other heads of growth. We had an amazing conversation, we made friends, and there was actually a soft sell opportunity at the end of it. And I'm going to explain to you what actually happened. So I moved to Sydney. I knew no one in Sydney. And so I scraped a bunch of job titles inside Sydney and I invited them all to a dinner. And then we had this dinner, we made friends, and it was really good. So I did about 150 outreaches and I had 6 in-person attendees. And this is the script I use, and it's super damn simple. I said, hey, Jeff, I'm hosting a dinner on the 30th of November with 6 other growth leads in the CBD. And the CBD is like the location in Sydney to network, meet peers. Would you like to join? ? It's super, super simple. But the reason why it worked is Jeff is a growth lead. At that time, my title was head of growth. I said network and meet peers. So there was like literally no salesiness to it whatsoever. There was no idea that, oh, this person's going to come in and then sell me on their SaaS tool or whatever. So if you have a job title which you sell into, or you can get someone in your organization, and you mention both those job titles in your headline and in the message itself, and you make it as non-salesy as possible, you tend to get really, really high quality responses. And so that's what happened over here. And I made some really good friends that I still chat to today. Now, you can obviously make this more salesy if you want to. If you are, for example, selling a SaaS and you're selling it into CFOs, you could just say, hey, I'm hosting a dinner for a bunch of Fortune 500 CFOs. Do you want to attend? And again, maybe you're not the CFO, but they still want to network with other CFOs at that table, so they probably will attend. But this time you might need to offer a free dinner as well. Now, the next one I want to show to you is called Free Leads, and it's by Joe Wiley. And it's a really good example of what you can give away for free in order to get a meeting booked into your calendar. So this one had 254 leads, 30 acceptance rate, 25% reply rate, and it booked 15 calls in 7 days. Again, awesome, awesome numbers. And what he did was a 2-part thing. It was a bit of a marketplace. So I'm going to explain it a little bit slowly. One is he scraped prospects. That's people that he wants to sell to. Then he found his prospects' ideal leads by going on social media, finding thought leaders, and scraping the people that were commenting on that thought leader's posts. So for example, let's say I found John and I wanted to reach out to John and book a meeting with John. I then found out who John wants to speak to. Maybe John wants to speak to Mark, and we found Mark commenting on Adam Robinson's post. So we had John and we had Mark and we had Adam Robinson. We had 3 different names in this whole conversation. And so what Joe Wiley did essentially, he said, hey John, I have a contact. His name is Mark. Mark's been engaging with Adam Robinson. He's probably a really good lead for you. Do you want A, his contact details, and B, a message that you can send him? And this is the exact script he used. He said, hey, curious how you plan on implementing the sales tech this year. I know there's a lot of noise out there, so here's something tangible. Again, most of this is like just to warm up the conversation. And so then he said, I built a list of leaders, that's Mark's, who've been engaging with competitors, let's say Adam Robinson's, on LinkedIn, and wrote personalized messages you can send to each of them. It's as simple as that. It's a no-brainer to say, yeah, I want that. Okay, cool. If you want it, come on a call with me. I'll show you what's going on. Is basically what Joe did. And it worked really, really well because obviously he booked really good calls from that. And so the lesson here is, even if you're selling something generic, and in this case, Joe, he was selling outreach or a lead gen agency services, and say you feel like you're commoditized and you feel like everyone's selling the same thing, there are still really clever ways to give something away for free of value that just cuts through the noise. And these are the guys that are booking meetings and getting really, really good qualified calls onto their calendar. And on the topic of free value, I'm going to show you an awesome direct lead magnet that you can do, which has basically no messing about, gets straight to the point, and here it is. And so this is the direct lead magnet campaign by Tim Jacobson. He gets around 723 plus leads per month with this. And for this specific campaign, he had 1,051 leads come in, 26% reply rate, 45% acceptance rate. What he's doing is he's giving away a lead magnet. And I'm going to show you the script first, and I'm going to explain to you what your lead magnet should be. So the script basically says, hey, name, I hate to be that guy, but I have this crazy lead magnet that whatever, does something. Can I send it over? Simply reply yes, and I will rush it to you. It's so simple. But why does this work so well? It's because the lead magnet is stupidly valuable. The lead magnet needs to solve a clear problem, and it needs to be targeted at a problem solution aware individual. So for example, say he's reaching out to people, and the problem that he's trying to solve for them is that landing in the inbox is hard. The solution, you can buy domains in seconds, but the lead magnet that he could be sending is a video on how to buy domains in under 5 minutes without manually setting up DKIM and DNS records. So that lead magnet is inherently super valuable for the right prospect, that they're just going to say yes to it anyway. And that creates a relationship and a conversation between Tim and then the lead. And you can find these people by looking for people that probably have that pain point. So in this case, they follow Smart Lead or Instantly, which are cold email outreach tools on LinkedIn. The big lesson here is that you can be really direct. A lot of the previous examples I showed you were a bit clever about the way they attached the prospect and the way the angle they came in from. This one is just super clear. Do you want this lead magnet? If they say yes, they're basically saying, yeah, I actually do have this pain point. And that's a really good qualification for you. Now, if you want more advice on winning with cold DMs, check out this next video where you can see exactly Alex Hormozi's advice on how to outbound DM message people. And one of the things that helped him get to where he is, and he said it himself, is sending really good cold DMs. So check out that video and watch it whilst you can. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.